Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this Imperial webinar. I can see people are joining the room at the moment. Wherever you're joining us from, you are very, very welcome. My name is Lawrence, and I work in the events team here at Imperial, and I'll be introducing the session. And we have my colleagues Catherine and Jake, who will be going through the presentation. They'll introduce themselves, and we'll also have time for Q&A as well. So hopefully if you join this session, you're interested in undergraduate study at Imperial, and this is our admissions overview. So we're going to be covering the admissions tests, personal statements, guidance on application, what we're looking for, and we'll also start with what makes Imperial different. What courses can you study here to give you a really good idea. And there'll be time for Q&A. There's a lot of people joining, so we won't necessarily be able to get through all the questions, but we'll get through as many as we can. So before we get started, I just wanted to cover a little bit of housekeeping. So the session is going to last around an hour. We'll have presentations going through all those different aspects for your admissions overview, and then there'll be time for us to answer your questions that have come in through the Q&A live. You can ask questions on Teams throughout the event when the Q&A is open, so it'll open a little bit later in the session. We're going to cover what courses need admissions tests and things like that, some of the key questions that we know that you may well have coming along to this session. So do look out in the Q&A tab within Teams. There'll be a little note saying Q&A is now open. So if you've got a burning question or a question you know that hasn't been covered in the presentation, feel free to ask it there. And obviously, if you are listening back to this as a recording, then please do email us, get in touch, and we can make sure that it reaches the right team, the right part of admissions, the right department. And the event is being recorded, so if you do miss anything, you'll be able to come back to it and access it from our on-demand talks and tasters page, which you'll be linked to in a follow-up email if you registered for that. Just another quick thing to note is just the way Teams webinar works. We're not able to disable hand raising, so if you've got a question, please ask it in the Q&A tab rather than raising your hands, because we've got lots and lots of people joining, so we're not able to take kind of live questions from the audience. So just want to note that. But to start with, I'm going to pass over to Jake, who's going to take you through the first part of the presentation.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining today. Really pleased to see so many people online today. So my name is Jake. I'm from the international team here at Imperial. For the next couple of minutes, I will be introducing Imperial and also briefly to tell you a little bit more about what adds value to the Imperial education, of course. But one of the things I want to highlight for those of you who are not so familiar with Imperial College London is that we are the UK's only university that specialises in teaching science, engineering, medicine, and business program. So as a university, we're a very focused institution. We're also one of the world leading specialists as well. So this is really a community where we are using our focused research and also a community of problem solvers to push boundaries to understand science and also make sure they are useful as well. So by joining Imperial, you will know this is a place where students and world leading experts come together to learn, to collaborate, and also make impacts to the world we all live in. On the next slide, you will see some history background of Imperial. We are actually a very modern university in the UK, but also a world leader in science, engineering, medicine, and business. So we only founded in 1907 with the mission to be useful. But also we know that before anyone can sort of usefully change something, they first need to understand science. That's why we have our Imperial focus on STEM B subjects, because we want to use science to try to understand more about the universe we all live in and improve lives of more people in it. So across our London campuses and throughout the entire international networks, we ask bigger questions so we can shape the future, and our students are usually directly involved in the contributions we make as well. So as a specialist, we have a medium-sized student body with approximately about 23,000 students studying across 4 different faculties at Imperial. And we also offer over 110 undergraduate degree programs here as well. We're also incredibly proud to say we're international. So currently, as one of the most international universities in the world and also in the UK, we have over 40% of students coming from outside the United Kingdom studying at Imperial as well. Now, you may have already seen this on our slide. I will introduce you our ranking as well. So this is something you probably have seen all over the media, and also this is something we're incredibly proud of as well. Imperial is rated as one of the world's best university according to 2026 and 2025 QS World Leading ranking. We have been named as the best university in the UK and also Europe, and that makes us number 2 in the world as well. But ranking, it doesn't drive us. It is our people at Imperial that really motivate us to do better. And we're focused on offering some of the best possible education and doing high quality research and innovating to make the world a much better place for everyone as well. While we are always pleased that our performance, is always reflected in different league tables, we also recognize that ranking have different flaws and don't always fully reflect sort of the richness of what we do here at Imperial as well. So our placing in a ranking is simply, so shall we say, a byproduct of our incredible work to nurture the community where our students and staff members are both valued and can thrive together as well. On our next slide, you will see some of the outstanding achievements, including our, for example, world-leading research output and also impact, our incredible student satisfaction, and of course, graduate prospects as well. And us being in central London and in central heart of London, which has also been massively beneficial for our students, both from the UK and also international, to get easy access to incredibly rich academic resources as well. And of course, London has also been named as the world's best student city in 2025 as well. So this is a place where people can come together to really thrive by being in this community where they can enjoy and learn and challenge each other all in one place as well. For the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our degree programs and what you can study. As we have already introduced, this is our sort of specialist sort of environment, and also we are the UK's only one that focuses on STEM B subjects as well. And quickly introduce you some of the degree courses. We have 4 faculties. The first one I want to get into is our engineering. So this is a faculty where we're looking to sort of provide international leadership in engineering research and education. And this is also, of course, widely recognized as the world-leading engineering school as well. As you can see on the slide, our departments consistently excel in different league table rankings. You may have already heard about the different branches of engineering as well. All 10 of our engineering departments are located on a single campus in South Kensington, giving that kind of concentration of different talents that create a stimulating and also incredibly vibrant research culture. And this is really kind of promoting our multidisciplinary collaborations and attracting different international leading research and students as well. It spans across aeronautical engineering, bioengineering, to all the way to mechanical engineering, for example. And the only thing we don't offer at Imperial is our general engineering. So if you're one of the students who want to start thinking like an engineer first before you start specializing, Imperial may not be the most suitable place for you. But if you're one of the students who has a very strong, focused interest in a particular engineering discipline, and Imperial is pretty much the only place that can offer you this level of skill sets and knowledge training and attitudes necessary to become international leaders in engineering industry and academia. Now, the second faculty, natural sciences. So this is a place where we are collaborating with traditional and also pure science subjects. This is also a place where we are pioneering different and new ways of interrogating the natural world to further knowledge as well. So as you can see, our research kind of spans different scales, and from developing, fundamental mathematical tools to exploring different parts of the universe. So we really kind of investigate the level of traditional science subjects such as molecular transformation or discovering new cellular processes essential to human health, or perhaps studying ecosystem to tackle some of the really challenging global environmental issues as well. There are 5 academic departments within this faculty of natural sciences, and they all work in partnership with a broad range of experts, including people from different industries, government, and also the third sector, to translate our research into applying what we learn and into how we benefit the society as well, whether that's about developing cutting-edge medical treatments to new technology or policies for a more sustainable world we all live in. So the third faculty I want to talk about is our medicine faculty. So this is probably one of the largest medical schools in the United Kingdom, really kind of training more than 2,000 students in medicine and biomedical science as well. So our medicine programs are delivered at different campuses in West London, and as well as a wide range of partner hospitals and general practices. So faculty of medicine, and this is basically something we all have been proud to say, and this is one of the most world-leading medical schools in the entire Europe and also world as well. It has an international reputation for excellence and routinely is sort of ranked amongst some of the best in the world as well. And really is for students who want to harness their own kind of interest in healthcare and also human science into saving people's lives and improving global health as well. As you can see, there are 3 different streams students can choose from: medical biosciences, which focuses on academic research in healthcare, and also, of course, the doctor training program, which allows students to study 6-year degree program on MBBS in medical medicine as well to become a medical doctor. Okay, so the fourth faculty I want to quickly introduce is our business school. Now, you may wonder, what sort of business school options we could have as a scientist. Well, there are there are business programs which basically are incredibly tailored and also designed for scientists to understand how they can roll things out to make things commercially successful and also viable. For example, for all of our engineering, natural sciences, medicine students, and students can actually choose business modules as part of their degree. Whilst you're having all these wonderful, incredible ideas in the laboratory, we also want our students to understand how to roll things out to make things commercially successful as well, to benefit a wider public. Another thing I want to highlight is our brand new BSc Economics, Finance and Data Science degree program. And this is probably one of the most unique degree programs in the world and also in the UK, to allow students to use mathematical tools to tackle some of the real world challenges such as aging population, climate change, policy making, and also perhaps some of the incredible big data problems we are all looking at to drive business decisions. So this really isn't the program for students who want to learn the traditional management courses such as accounting, human resources, or marketing. This is essentially a degree program allowing students to use practical elements in mathematical world to understand how we can make decisions collectively. And of course, there are different options for different degree programs as well, including year in management, joint honor degree programs, as well as our biomedical technology ventures, which is co-delivered with our department, bioengineering as well. Okay, so next slide, I'm going to quickly talk a little bit more about our I Explore. So you may have already heard about this, and also you may wonder what is this actually all about. And this is essentially designed to sort of broaden our students' perspectives, really kind of giving our students the new context to your disciplinary knowledge, and also allowing students to shape and also share the expertise for the benefit of society. So in either year 2 or year 3 of your main degree, depending on your department, our students can take one of the I Explore modules. And modules they take will be sort of directly integrated into your program. And this will, of course, will count for credit towards your degree, whether that's about learning a different language, or you want to learn about the social sciences, or simply you want to just learn business management as part of your journey. And this is all something you can tailor and also have the flexibility to design your degree as well. So to make it easier to follow your interest, we have different portfolios options into different categories. Do feel free to scan the QR code to find out a little bit more about what I Explore options can really enrich your learning experience here at Imperial. Okay, that's pretty much the brief information from me. Now I'm going to pass on to my colleague Catherine to go through the application process at Imperial.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jake. Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I am the Widening Participation Student Recruitment Officer. So I'm based within the UK team here at Imperial. Really lovely to be seeing there's so many of you online watching the webinar today. So we are going to move on now to talk a little bit about applying to Imperial. Hopefully Jake has got you excited about all the different options that you could take, the different faculties, the different subjects. So we're going to talk to you now about the application process. So if you have decided that you would like to apply to Imperial as one of your options, you will need to do that application through UCAS. And this is the way that you apply to any UK university. If you're thinking of applying for 2026 entry, so for the coming academic year, applications are now open, and some of you may have already started work on your applications. You may have already registered with UCAS. The applications to register have been open since May, so if you haven't already done so, I would advise making yourself an account and familiarising yourself with that platform so you know what that looks like. When it comes to making your application, you can select up to 5 courses across different universities. But it's important to note that if you are thinking of applying for either medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, or veterinary science, you can only pick 4, and then your 5th option needs to be perhaps sort of a backup option. So for example, let's say you're applying for medicine, you might pick medicine courses at 4 different universities, and then your 5th option might be something like biomedical sciences, a sort of a different option, because these courses are so competitive. There are lots and lots of different elements to the UCAS application, and we're going to talk about some of these in a little bit more detail in the session today. And it can be a little bit daunting, but it's so important that all of these elements get your full attention and your full commitment, because this is how universities make an informed choice about you and whether they'd like to accept you onto their courses. Now, an application for UCAS for 2026 entry does come with a fee. It's going to be £28.95 to submit an application to up to 5 universities. However, something that's important to note, that if you are from the UK and you're eligible for free school meals, or you have been at some point in the last 6 years, there is a fee waiver, so therefore you would not need to pay for your application. We're going to have a little bit of think now about Imperial's entry requirements in particular. Obviously, when you're thinking about applying to university, you want to make sure that you are on track for the grades that they are asking for. Imperial's entry requirements are quite high and quite competitive. If we think in terms of A-levels, we are typically asking for students to get between 3 A's at A-level to up to 2 A stars and an A, or if they're taking 4 A-level options, that could be 1 A star and 3 A's. For those of you perhaps doing international baccalaureate, we're looking at between 38 and 40 points overall. And for any other international qualifications that you might be sitting, you can check these on our website to make sure you know what you would need to get for the particular course you're interested in. It's also important to note that general studies and critical thinking at A-level or equivalent are not accepted, and there will be different subjects that you are required to have at set grades depending on the course that you're interested in. So please do make sure that you familiarise yourselves with those requirements before you submit your application. It is also important to note that competition to Imperial is very strong. We typically take around 3,300 new students each year. So that's sort of just shy of 10 people applying per one place. So it's very competitive. We are looking for the best possible students. This is going to differ depending on the ratio is going to differ depending on the subject that you're applying to. So, for example, the economics, finance, and data science course that Jake had just mentioned is one of our most competitive courses. We typically see about 26 applicants for every one place. Whereas, for example, civil engineering, we see roughly 4 applicants for every one place. So they are all competitive. And these additional stages to the application process, such as things like admissions tests and interviews, really help us to work out, of those many amazing applicants, who do we want to offer a place to at the end of the day. We're going to have a quick look at some key deadlines. So do remember that this webinar is being recorded, so you can go back and jot these down in your own time. But if you've got a pen and paper handy and you want to jot them down now or take yourself a screenshot, feel free to do so. If you are thinking of applying for 2026 entry, then applications can be submitted now. Some of you may be well on your way to submitting, and other people might be just sort of at the start of that process. But applications have been open since the 2nd of September. An important thing to note is that if you are thinking of early entry, that deadline is approaching quite quickly now. The deadline for early entry is the 15th of October 2025 at 6 p.m. Now that would be relevant for those of you who are thinking of applying to Imperial for medicine, because the deadline for all medicine applications across all universities is the 15th of October. If you are applying as well as to Imperial, to Oxford or Cambridge, their deadline is also the 15th of October. So please do be mindful that you would need to submit your application for this deadline if Imperial is one of your options and Oxford or Cambridge are as well. So we would expect applications to be coming in from this point all the way up until the equal consideration deadline, which is the 14th of January 2026. So if you're not thinking of medicine, or you're not thinking of either Oxford and Cambridge as well as ourselves, you do have a little bit more time. However, there are some of the key dates that fall within this window. So there will be admissions test sittings. You can see the dates up on the screen there that you would need to register for. Make sure that you attend those tests on those dates. And for some of our courses that offer interviews as well, the sort of window for interviews falls between November to February. Obviously, if you submit your application earlier, you're likely to be invited to an interview earlier. But yes, they'll sort of fall within that window. And when it comes to us communicating our decision to you, we will communicate to you by the end of March 2026 whether or not you have been successful in your application, and if you have been successful, what the conditions of your offer are. So what grades you'd need to get, or additional requirements that you would need to meet. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a flavour and a bit of an overview of what the next sort of few months would look like for you. Now, this process can be quite long because we want to make sure we're giving your application the sort of due diligence and attention that it really deserves. You've put a lot of effort into these applications. We want to make sure that we assess them really thoroughly. So we have specialist admissions and academic staff who are going to be assessing your application. They know what they are looking for. They are looking for your academic requirements. They're looking for your motivation and your passion for your subject. And we also make sure that your application is typically not just assessed by one person, but it will be multiple different people looking over it to make sure that it's really given that fair consideration. So we are very thorough, which does mean it can take a little bit of time, but we want to make sure that you get the time and your application gets the time that it deserves. So what are we looking for when it comes to an application? You can have a look on the slide that is coming up, some of the different things that we are looking for in our applications. Our admissions tutors are going to be looking for a whole range of different things, but they want to see why you want to study the course. This typically might come through in your personal statement, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later, or in an interview. We also want to look at your academic preparation. So this could be reflected in things like your grades. So are you on track to achieve those A's or A stars or equivalent? Or have you done particularly well in the admissions test? We're also looking for your engagement with your subject. Are you motivated by your subject? Are you really passionate about it? And have you done things to explore that subject in your own time? So we want to look at your sort of wider engagement with your subject. And again, that might come through in a personal statement, perhaps. And we also will be looking at other kind of transferable skills that you might have. So any relevant extracurricular activities you might have done, maybe things like work experience, or things like your communication skills, the way you think, any sort of transferable skills that could be relevant to your subject. Obviously, these are going to differ depending on the nature of the subject. So make sure you're reflecting on that when you are writing your application. What kind of skills would a potential physics student need, or a medicine student need, or a math student need? Think about how those might be different and how you might be working to possess those qualities or already have them. Something that is really important to note is our contextual admissions route that may be eligible for some of you listening into this call. So this is a particular admissions route for students who are from the UK, who are from disadvantaged or underrepresented backgrounds. And this may be because they face additional challenges that might affect their grades at school or at college. Now, students who are eligible for contextual admissions consideration might get a minimum offer rather than sort of a typical offer for their course. They could be guaranteed an interview for those courses that do interview, or they might get extra support whilst they are on course, such as a bridging programme to help them settle into university and sort of acclimatise to university life. You can check by scanning the QR code on the screen whether or not you would be eligible for this route, but please note that there is nothing that you have to do to sort of register for this route per se. We will be able to identify whether or not this route you would be eligible for this route based off your application, postcode data, school type, all of this sort of thing. We would then be able to work out whether or not this route applies to you. So you don't have to do any additional paperwork or anything like that. We would work this out for you. Hopefully that is something that some of you may be interested in, and you can kind of work out whether or not that would be an option that would be available to you. I'm now going to hand back over to Jake, who is going to talk about another key part of the admissions process, which is admissions tests and interviews. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Catherine. So that's wonderful to give a bit of background about the application process now. An admissions test, this is probably one of the most crucial stages of your application as well, because we do use admissions tests to help us fairly access the skills and of course, your knowledge. And we're very fortunate to receive very high quality applicants all over the world. And also we do take your test scores into consideration alongside many other parts of your UCAS application, like your personal statement, and when we decide whether to invite you to an interview to make the offer as well. So this really is a stage and also one of the crucial components that can give you the chance to show us your skills, your subject knowledge, and also your understanding of the topics relevant to the course you're applying to. So here on the slide, you will see a table of all the departments that would require, and also departments that do not require tests, but they may offer interview as part of the routine process as well. So in the next two slides, you will see departments in natural sciences and also engineering, of course, business school as well. But now we're going to quickly talk a little bit more about what kind of admissions tests we use. And to start with, we're going to talk a little bit more about our UCAT, the University Clinical Aptitude Test, which is what we use for our medicine program at Imperial. So this is a test to assess a range of abilities, including verbal reasoning, decision-making, quantitative reasoning, situational judgment, all very essential for training someone to become a medical doctor. So you do need to take the UCAT if you're applying to our MBBS medicine, which is the standard course A100 for all UK medical schools. And you also need to take either UCAT or GAMSAT if you're applying to our MBBS medicine for graduate entry as well. This is an under 2-hour tests, basically having 4 different papers in different formats. So you do need to make sure you book them online and also ensure you do your test based on the time window we have provided you as well. Now, moving on to ESAT, which is something we use for our engineering and science admissions. And this is also a computer-based test as well, which is delivered by UAT UK. And by scanning the QR code, you will find out loads more information about how to take those and also information in terms of the deadline as well. You need to take ESAT if you're applying for 2026 entry study in, for example, aeronautical engineering, chemical, civil, and also Dyson School and physics. Majority of our engineering and also small number of natural sciences courses will require ESAT as part of the selection process. Now, one of the things you want to remember is there are different modules as part of your ESAT. For example, if you're going to be applying for chemical engineering at Imperial, it is essential you will have to take mathematics, physics, and of course, chemistry as one of the essential components as well. So do remember to check what modules you need to take as part of your ESAT, because without ESAT score, your application probably won't be considered any further. Moving on to next, which is our TMUA test, the test of mathematics for university admissions. This is again very similar to ESAT, also a computer-based test, which is also delivered by UAT UK. It mostly assesses your mathematical thinking and reasoning skills as well. It's around 2 hours and 30 minutes in total, and also divided into 2 different parts. One of it is about applying mathematical knowledge into the real world setting, and another one is mathematical reasoning, which is all about your ability to deal with mathematical reasoning and simple ideas from elementary logic. Again, different deadlines and different sittings, and there are October and January sittings. Now, one thing you want to remember, regardless whether that's ESAT or TMUA, you would only be required to take one of the sittings, because we would only take into consideration your first sitting results for your application consideration. Now, if you're going to be applying for courses that would require both ESAT and TMUA, that does mean you will have to take both tests in order to be eligible for consideration at Imperial as well. Now, moving on to next, which is all about the process and also how you can prepare and what sort of information you need to take for your revision as well. Preparing is very simple because all tests are basically based on the school syllabus you have already have the familiarization with. So one of the things we want to make sure that you are essentially using your school knowledge and your current existing knowledge and apply those into the real world setting. So if this is something you probably have already learned at the school, but really kind of challenges your mindset in terms of the application of the skills and knowledges as well. Taking the test, you normally will have to find a local Pearson VUE test center. Usually these are somewhere, can be located in your own home country. There are more than 5,500 centers available in over 180 different countries. So you just need to register for the test on the Pearson VUE website. Now, if you can't really find the centers easily, you're always welcome to find us first, or simply contact Pearson to really locate you to a nearest center for you to take the test as well. And your test results will be automatically downloaded and shared with all universities using those tests as well. And we also, they will be released to you directly around 6 weeks after you have taken the test as well. The next slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about how to register. Now, registering is about a two-way process, shall we say. This is something you kind of have to do online directly. So first thing you want to do is you have to create a UAT UK account with Pearson by using the link on the slide where you can sign up and register as a potential test taker. And second is basically for booking the test as well. Now, it's all you build in one portal. You don't have to worry about going to a different place, and you should be able to book the test automatically after registration as well. One of the things you want to take into account is there are fees as part of the test taking process as well. And there is an entry fee for both TMUA and ESAT, and both are payable when you book either or both tests as well. And of course, there are bursary vouchers available for UK candidates in interviews as well. So if you want to apply for access arrangements, and if you have any learning difficulty or simply any sort of a physical or medical disability that needs to be raised to us beforehand, feel free to follow the deadline on the slide and let us know. You will need to get the access arrangements before you take the test as well. And of course, applying for a bursary voucher, which is something I'm going to talk a little bit more here. This is also for the UK candidates who are in financial needs, and they tend to probably need something to cover the full test fee as well. Again, very similar process to other sort of normal candidates. You will still need to register, but one thing you do want to remember is that you have to be permanently living in the UK at the time of application and planning to sit your test at the UK test centre. Unfortunately, this is not something applicable to students outside the United Kingdom, and also you do need to make sure you have the eligibility criteria in order to receive the bursary voucher as well. We're going to go through some key deadlines, and this is something quite important, of course, essential for you and your school to follow as well. And of course, some schools may have some internal deadlines for you to prepare and also register beforehand. But again, these are basically the official deadlines we have set out for students to make sure they take and register on time as well. Generally speaking, the deadline will start sort of opening around sort of summertime, and also the first seating will be around October. Registration for October seating has already closed now, because on the 8th of September, this is the deadline for candidates requiring access arrangements for test seating 1. And also the registration will close later on this week, and it will be on the 29th September for students who want to take October seating. And again, for January seat takers, you will have to remember you want to register a little bit later on in November and December time as well. Okay, so now I'm going to pass over back to my colleague Catherine to go through personal statement, which is also incredibly important for you to stand out for the application to Imperial.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jake. So the personal statement, another really important part of your application. In your personal statement, you are going to be telling us more about you. You are going to be telling us more about your subject motivation, the skills and experiences that you have that relate to your subject, any relevant extracurricular activities that you've done, and how you have gone about preparing for the course. Now, it can be a little bit daunting thinking about writing a personal statement. We're going to show you on the next slide a bit of an overview, a video to kind of explain more about the structure of the personal statement and the 3 key questions that you are going to answer throughout your personal statement. So we will head over and play that video for you now.
There's a new format for UCAS personal statements. Now, instead of writing one long statement, you answer 3 questions. These questions help you talk about your experience, why you've chosen your subject, and your achievements in and outside the classroom. Let's look at the questions. Question 1. Why do you want to study this course or subject? This is where you show off your passion for your subject. Tell us what you know about it, why you love it, and what inspired you to study it at uni. You can also talk about how you explored the subject outside your normal studies and how it links to your ambitions. Question 2. How have your qualifications and studies helped you to prepare for this course or subject? Here you can talk about your education and how it can help you succeed at uni. We don't need to know your grades. We want to see how what you learned influenced your decision to study your subject. You can talk about independent learning and tell us about the skills you've developed, like problem solving, teamwork, or time management. We know that studying isn't always easy. Tell us about challenges and what helped you overcome them. Question 3. What else have you done to prepare outside of education, and why are these experiences useful? How do your life experiences, hobbies, volunteering, or jobs relate to your subject? Tell us how those things could help your studies. What did you learn from them? Remember, your personal statement is your chance to show us how you'd make a great student. Think about experiences relevant to your subject, the skills you learned, and how they relate to what you want to study at uni. Best of luck!
So a personal statement is a really, really important part of the application, in part because there is a lot of competition for places at Imperial, as we have already highlighted. So your personal statement is a really sort of powerful way to help you stand out from everyone else who might be applying, who perhaps has quite similar academic profiles. They might be studying very similar subjects to you and be on track for similar grades. And unfortunately for Imperial, having amazing grades isn't always sufficient for getting a place on the course. We want to look at these other fantastic qualities that you have, your academic aptitude, your passion for your subject, and really understand your academic interest and your suitability for the subject. So the personal statement is giving us that extra information. So do not waste the opportunity. Definitely make the most of explaining why you would be such a good student at our university. A personal statement should be, as it says in the name, all about you. If you pop up on the next slide, you can see some examples of different things that you might want to address in your personal statement. So why should we pick you? Why do you love the subject? What kind of things have you done so far to explore your subject? And we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about supercurricular activities versus extracurricular activities and what I mean by those terms. How have you prepared, and how ready are you for this sort of next step on your academic journey? Your personal statement shouldn't just be about why you think physics is so why physics is cool in general, or why maths is interesting in general, but it should be about why you think that these subjects are so cool or so interesting and why you are good at them. It shouldn't just be a general love letter to that subject. It should be you at the heart of it, which I know can be a little bit cringy sometimes, talking about how excellent and amazing you are. But if you're on track for such fantastic grades and thinking about universities like Imperial, I'm sure that you've got lots of fantastic things about you that you could talk about. Now, we're going to have a little bit of think now about supercurriculars versus extracurriculars. Now, these might be terms that some of you are familiar with and others might not be, but we're going to explain a little bit about them now. So supercurricular activities are things that you do outside of your time at school or college that are relevant to your subject in some way. So this might be that you enjoy reading books to do with your subject. Maybe you like listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos or documentaries. It might be that you've done some sessions with a university, either maybe online or local to you, to do taster sessions or webinars. It might be that you've gone out into the wild to do something to do with your subject. Maybe you've gone to a science museum or an exhibition. Perhaps you've even ventured out into the great outdoors, maybe for a subject like biology or geology. Maybe you've gone out into the wild and done something that is to do with your subject that's helped you to explore it and solidify your subject interest. All of these things are fantastic ways to explore your subject, and they show a commitment to going beyond what's on your school or college curriculum. And this is what we really want to see in your personal statement. We want to see students who have taken the initiative and are motivated to do things beyond the classroom. As I said, there's so many different ways that you can do that, and it might be just finding the way that you enjoy the most. It isn't about doing absolutely loads and loads of these things, but rather it's about quality over quantity. So it would be helpful to keep a record of the things that you've done. Which academic readings did you find most interesting? Which visits to the Science Museum and what exhibits did you find most fascinating? Whatever it might be. And then pick a few of these examples to reflect on in your personal statement. That's going to really show us that you are somebody who has thought very critically and very deeply, and perhaps isn't satisfied with what just they're doing within school or college, but they really want to dig deeper and solve problems and find out more. That is what we are looking for. So pick a few solid examples of things that you have enjoyed doing and make reference to these. Extracurriculars, by contrast, are things that you do that have no bearing on your academic interests. I'm sure that many of you listening got lots of different hobbies and interests. Maybe that's sports, maybe that's drama, music, board games, being creative and artistic. There could be loads of different things that you enjoy doing. Extracurriculars, however, do not have a bearing on your application to Imperial. There might be a bit of a stereotype that a student who goes to somewhere like Imperial is going to be multi-talented in every single field, but that isn't what we are looking for. We are looking for students who have got a strong academic aptitude and ability and interest in their subject. We don't need you to speak multiple languages or play music or be really sporty. Obviously, those are fantastic qualities to have. And when you come to university, if you come to Imperial, there'll be lots of opportunities to do those things in your free time. And we've got great facilities that you could utilise. But those sort of hobbies or extracurriculars are not going to get you a place at the university. This doesn't mean you should stop doing them. If that's something you really enjoy, they can be a good option to let off steam during a busy year whilst you're sitting your A-levels or equivalent qualifications. So there's no need to stop those things as long as you feel that you're able to balance them alongside doing your applications to university, sitting your exams, and really focusing on that next step of your journey. So don't give those up. Just make sure that you are balancing your time properly. However, we do understand that other universities are interested in students' extracurriculars and like to hear a little bit about them in applications. So we do not tell you to completely omit these from your personal statement, but do not make them sort of the sole focus. You could find perhaps a very interesting way to link an extracurricular or a hobby that you have to your subject of choice, but there is no pressure to do this. You might instead like to focus on the transferable skills that you gain from your sports or your drama or your music and how these might be relevant to your subject. If you can find a very interesting and clever link, then absolutely go for it. Maybe you would like to study maths with us, and one of your main hobbies is playing board games or video games, and perhaps that has made you really think about strategy in game design and how that relates to maths. That could be a very interesting thing to talk about. Maybe you'd like to do biological sciences with us and you're really sporty in your free time and you play rugby or football or cricket or something like that. And maybe this has made you sort of reflect more on, elite athletes and the human body and how you recover from injuries. So there could be a really neat way to tie those together, but there is absolutely no pressure to do so. Supercurriculars should be the focus and extracurriculars should be a smaller segment. Now, hopefully this is then highlighted in what we would suggest as a structure for the personal statement. We would suggest approximately 75 to 90% of the personal statement being focused on your academic interests, and that would include those supercurricular activities that you'll be reflecting on. Only about 10 to 25% should be thinking about your extracurriculars, your non-academic activities, and where possible, linking that back to your subject, whether that is in a very direct way or in terms of the transferable skills, the communication skills, teamwork, independent learning, whatever that might be, in that sort of smaller section. So yeah, the bulk of it should be academic, and then a smaller percentage, 10 to 25% on that non-academic activities and other things that you love and enjoy. But it's important to note that there really is no magic formula. Everyone is going to approach the personal statement in a slightly different way, and you want to stand out in your personal statement. So do make sure that you give it the time that it deserves. Other students will be doing so, so you want to make sure that you really sell yourself and promote all your fantastic qualities and your academic aptitude in the personal statement to us. Stand out. Tell us what is so fantastic about you. I'm going to hand over now to Lawrence, who is going to lead us into the Q&A section of the event.
Hi everyone, I'm Lawrence from the events team, in case you missed me at the very start, the introduction to the session. And we've had quite a lot of questions that are coming in, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. Again, just to note, we're doing all the questions will be, because of the number of people in the session, we'll take from the Q&A tab. So I'm going to leave it open for like another minute or so. So if you have a burning question, please post it in now and we'll get through as many as we can. And Jake and Catherine, I'll come to you and we'll field as many questions as we can. Jake, if I come to you first, someone has a specific question about the the entry requirements we're going through offer some of our most common applications, qualifications that we see, A-levels and IB. Someone's got a specific question about the French baccalaureate, but perhaps you could just give us a bit of information. If you're not studying one of those qualifications, do you accept them? Where could they find entry requirements and those kind of things?
Oh, thank you, Lawrence. So yeah, at Imperial, we accept a range of different qualifications across different parts of the world, and we are also very familiar with different country systems and syllabus as well. French baccalaureate is one of the common qualifications we have seen in most parts of the world, particularly, of course, from France, and we consider those qualification takers equally, then also in the same way as how we consider A-level and international baccalaureate students as well. For those of you who want to understand a little bit more about what we need from different country-specific qualifications, you actually can go on our course page, and under the qualification and entry requirement tab, where you can see the drop-down menu of all different international non-UK qualifications we accept as well, including the entry requirements for each specific qualification.
Super, thank you. And we've had a couple of questions that have come in around essentially applying for more than one course at Imperial. Whether is it frowned upon? Can you do that? So Catherine, perhaps if I come to you, just kind of basic principles about like applying to perhaps different courses at Imperial or similar programs, just to kind of comment on that, and any advice for people thinking about it.
Absolutely. You are very welcome to apply to more than one course at the same institution through UCAS. As I said towards the start of the session, you can apply to up to 5 different courses unless it's sort of medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine or veterinary science. So you may, for example, like to apply to us for, let's say, medicine and then medical biosciences as another option. You are very welcome to do this. What I would suggest is if you're thinking of courses that are perhaps very different and maybe fall into different faculties, really do have a long, hard think before you submit the application. If there is a preference towards one subject or another, try to really work out what is it that's drawing you to these different subjects. If they are quite similar in some respects, so perhaps 2 different areas of engineering within the same faculty, you are of course really welcome to apply, and your personal statement should reflect that sort of interest within those subjects. It can be quite challenging to tailor a personal statement if the subjects are extremely different. But yes, you are very welcome to apply to more than one subject, and we do have multiple students who will choose that. But I would say really think about why are you picking that subject. Obviously, we really want you to come to Imperial, but you should be motivated by your course choice rather than just like the name of the university, if that makes sense.
Super, thanks, Catherine. And I guess just to note, someone had asked specifically about kind of 2 courses in the same department. It's really worth looking at the department pages in Imperial, because for some of the programs, essentially you apply and they'll all be considered together as the cohort for that year. So again, it's obviously get in touch if you're not sure, but there might be some departments you can just apply to one course, and if there's like a different stream or a different specialization, you could change after the first year, or later in the program. So effectively, if you've used 2 of your choices for a course in the same department, you might be wasting a choice. Again, just to note, we're now closed to the Q&A. We'll be taking questions here. Unfortunately, we can't turn off hand raising, but just because of the volume of people, we're not going to be able to take kind of live questions over the mic. So just to flag that. Jake, if I could throw one back to you, someone's asking, is there an advantage if you apply earlier in the cycle?
At all. I mean, the only sort of a shred of knowledge we have really is for students who want to apply early, they kind of want to focus on their own studies first and can get application out of the way and focus on what they need to do and achieve later on academically. Now, with all students, when they apply to Imperial, we always operate on equal consideration deadline policy. That means for all candidates who apply by the UCAS deadline, and they will always be considered equally regardless, however sooner they apply to Imperial.
Super, thank you. And I know, please do have a look at our website if you have, want the specifics about the dates that were mentioned. There's lots of different dates and deadlines. Someone's just asking, is it too late to register for the October ESAT sitting? So the deadline is the 29th of September. So if you're listening to this as a recording, then please do check. But if you're listening live, the deadline for ESAT and TOMUA is the 29th. So there's still time. If you want to take it in the October sitting, that's something you need to be looking to do very soon. But again, just to tackle another question, there isn't that you can apply in only for one sitting, as Jake was saying, but there isn't a specific preference. I think, as Jake was saying, part of it is if you take it earlier, then you can focus on your studies, but then you could also prepare for it later on as well. And yeah, I think something just to take as well as a few people asking about kind of how to prepare and just I guess you can see this on, there's a kind of statement on the UAT UK site, but the materials to prepare, there's lots of resources and materials provided on the website, and so we don't, just to say, we don't recommend paying for any other services or things that will say, oh, you'll definitely get this score if you go with us. So the materials are there, the practice materials, the things that it will cover for all those different tests. So that really is your best resource to look at those. Right, we've still got some time. Someone's asking, if I'm applying for maths, do I need to teach the ESAT and TOMUA? For mathematics, I believe it's just the TOMUA. I think that's right. Yeah, it's just the TOMUA. So you wouldn't, if you're applying for a single course at Imperial, you would either take the ESAT or the TOMUA. If you were to apply to mathematics and say one of our engineering programs, you might need to take the TOMUA for one course, the ESAT for another. Right, let's just go through. Have a few more. Catherine, if I can come to you, someone is asking if they made an offer and they miss the grade that's been asked for them by maybe 1 mark or a few marks. How does that process work? Do they still have a chance of making their place?
Of course, yeah. So what I would suggest, if we sort of wind back a bit, if you are thinking of applying, it's really important that your predicted grades do match or exceed the grades that we would be asking for. I'm not saying that we would not consider you at all if, let's say, the course was asking you for 1 A star and 2 A's and you had been predicted 3 A's. But it is quite unlikely. We will be looking for students who are going to be achieving at the grades that we are asking of them. If it so happens that you are made an offer of fantastic news and you are told what you need to achieve, let's say again that's 1 A star and 2 A's with those grades being in particular subjects, and it comes to your results day and unfortunately you miss that grade by let's say, as Lawrence has suggested, by 1 threshold, maybe you get 3 A's rather than the 1 A star and 2 A's. We will still consider you. We do receive your grades before you do, so we will have a look through that information in sort of the week before your A-level results day or equivalent sort of results day, and we will be assessing those and trying to work out whether or not we would like to offer you a place, whether there is still potential, and that could be based off things like your admissions test score, your personal statement, which hopefully highlights why all of these are so important. We cannot guarantee that if a student misses the offer that we have given them, that we will give them a place. Unfortunately, we will take all of these other factors to do with their context and the application into consideration, and then we would communicate that to you, usually through your UCAS account on results day, to let you know that you have still got a place at Imperial, even if you have missed slightly. It might be that if you miss the grades and we have said we will not accept you because you have not quite met that requirement, you might apply for a resit, a regrade on your assessment, and if your grades come back with the A star that you needed, then we would honour that offer and give you a place. So it's so important to do the best that you possibly can and to meet the grades that are required of you in order to get in, because we can't guarantee that we will be able to let in people who are near misses. We'd love to be able to, but unfortunately we don't have spaces for everybody who would love to accept.
Super, thanks, Catherine. I'll just take another quick one. Someone's asked, is there an advantage to taking TOMUA or ESAT if you're applying for a program that doesn't require it? No, there isn't. They wouldn't look at it as part of the admissions. So if you're applying for a course that doesn't require admissions test, you don't need to take one. Simple as that. We've got time for just a couple more. Jake, if I can throw this one your way, someone's asking if they apply by the October deadline, would they still have to wait for the outcome to the end of March?
Yes, it is very possible students might have to wait a little bit longer than usual. Depends on the complexity of the academic profile and also the sort of prolonged selection process we tend to have for majority of departments here. And of course, so as you probably have already noticed throughout the presentation, so our selection process is not just black or white, and there is normally a very careful, in-depth consideration involving different stages of different components selection process as well, including admissions tests. So sometimes if you do apply by the October deadline, you probably will be invited for interview, depends on department you're going to apply for, simply because the department doesn't actually have an admissions test required, or maybe they probably want to wait until a little bit later when they have all candidates have already applied in January, and they then compare and make sure we make fair decisions across all departments as well. So it really kind of depends on the department and also the selection process you are committed to. So yeah, by applying early really doesn't mean you're going to get the offer early. So it does actually provide you a little bit more space to focus on your studies. Of course, in terms of admission decisions, you may still have to wait until the end of March to receive the final decision on your application.
Yep. So please bear with us if you're applying soon. It may take a little while. We're coming towards the end. I just want to cover a couple of quick fire questions around some of the tests. Someone's asking about the January sitting for ISA and Tamua because of the early consideration deadline you need to apply by. So yes. So we know that you wouldn't know the results. You're not going to get your results. You wouldn't have got the results of your ESAT or Tamua if you're taking the January sitting before applying. That's fine. We know that. We're obviously aware of that, and it's all part of our process. So just to be really clear, if you are going to be taking the January sitting, that's absolutely fine. Register for it as normal. Apply, by that early consideration deadline, and then when we get the results, we'll include that as part of our assessment. So yeah, please don't wait. Don't submit your application late, because so just to be really clear on that, is that you can apply on UCAS by that deadline and still take the January sitting. We accept both October sitting or the January sitting. You can take one of those. And then the final one, we've just had a few questions about cutoff scores for the different tests. Really, it depends on the performance that year. It will differ. There's not a kind of specific score. It will depend on the kind of overall performance of everyone that's taken the test. So I can appreciate there's a few questions come in on that. So we're not going to be able to give any specifics. But just as we bring the session to a close, I'll just come to our panelists again, just for maybe a quick thought or a quick word on, as people are maybe getting applications ready to submit, of any final tips, words of wisdom, little bit of guidance before we bring the session to a close. So just I guess quickly from me, give my colleagues a chance to think of something to say, is just on the deadlines of the tests and submitting applications and things like that, please do check the programs you're interested at Imperial. It's not exactly the same test, or isn't necessarily an interview for every single program. So please do check on the course page for the specifics. You can see the specific requirements, the specific subjects that you need to have the A star or equivalent in. So that's going to be really, really valuable, because if anyone says, oh, Imperial asks for this grade or this subject, that's not true for every single course. It will depend on the program. So that's just a last bit of advice from me. I'll come to Catherine and then over to Jake, and we'll bring it to a close.
Thank you, Lawrence. I fear mine might be a bit cliche and cheesy, but you can only do the best that you possibly can do in this process. So please do sort of commit yourself, throw yourself into every single part of the application process. It is long, and we appreciate that, but we want to make sure that we're selecting the best possible students who are going to thrive and really enjoy life at the university. So do the best that you possibly can do. Look after yourselves. Do make time for all of the things that you enjoy, whether that's spending time doing your hobbies or time with friends and family. Balancing that alongside your studies is really important. So yeah, do the best that you possibly can do. It's a long process, but hopefully, whether the outcome is that you come to Imperial or you go to another fantastic university, you will feel very happy at the end.
That's great wisdom, Catherine. For me, I'll probably say for all students, just really scratch the surface, ask yourself some questions about what makes you a happy student and what makes you enjoy doing when you are on this kind of academic journey, particularly transitioning from high school to university. And you will learn to be a little bit more independent. This is something you probably want to tell yourself a little bit more beforehand, because come to study at a place at Imperial, you will be surrounded by many bright and also intellectual students around you. And that means you will be stimulated, motivated, and also rewarded with many, many different talents as well. Understanding that resilience and is something we focus on at Imperial. Come to study at a place at Imperial, you will have to be prepared to work hard, but also work smart enough to understand how to manage your time here. And I really hope you can prepare and also be very thorough in your application, because we can't wait to read your application and hopefully see you at Imperial.
Super. Thanks so much to everyone. Just as we bring it to a close, we've had several hundred people in the session, so it's not possible to answer every single question. If you have still got a question, if you've made it this far in the recording and you want to ask us something, please get in touch. If you send it to opendays@imperial.ac.uk, we can direct it to the right team. So please do get in touch if there's anything else. We hope you've enjoyed that session. Look out for other webinars, and there's lots of opportunities to visit us in person if you're able to as well. We have regular tours, we have other visit days. If you're on the mailing list, which you most likely are if you made it to the session, you'll hear about those in due course at different events online, overseas, and in the UK on campus as well. Thanks everyone. Good luck with your applications. Bye now.